You got an extra 10% off.
Well, how much more?
Another dress.
Oh yeah, I mean, I might check it out. Oh yeah, I don't know if you want it.
We looked at the bank yesterday. Paige said, oh, can you look at the bank? I said, all right, walk down there, I looked at the window. And that's what kind of drew us into the charity shops. I thought she was enjoying it. Little did I know she was hating it.
No, she was not feeling well, babe. It was a normal
She
time.
should have told me. Why did she say, oh, you know?
Like skater out.
thấy mình chưa làm obviously lives on the key.
So how much? Oh, you did say to morning.
A little bit.
Yeah, get you some shampoo out.
Hey, that's on your pizza order? You will annoy me, Eva.
What am I doing wrong?
Used to go in the back. Nerwin. Nerwin. Nerwin.
One here, and then there's one coming in. Ready?
You know, a bit more.
So, and then, we should be like drawing and throwing up.
I only watch one.
David felt like a Christmas rabbit because he was one of
Hello, sorry. It's 20 pounds each. 20.
20, yeah.
Always 20, and this one. It's handmade. Okay, thank you.
because it would be and if I show the message of it,
Let me just look in the wicker baskets because they're the baskets that they Neighbours is more personal that they made.
Sure.
thank you. I make everything, yeah. Really? Oh wow. Yeah, I make everything. It's all silver. Will it go with it?
does. Really black, yeah, does. With a yeah. And what's this?
Oh yeah, always knows boy. Whenever I go away,
Did you see your dad?
It's just not really right.
Thank you. Yeah, we got a box down here, 465.
Oh, yeah, yeah.
Ben was going to wake me because he kept hugging me when he was asleep. Yeah.
The way outside. You weren't where you were, so we thought, oh, where you gone? And then, so we thought we'd go to the highest point. We might be able to see something.
Oh gosh, yes, actually that's a point. It's just big top there, isn't it?
Yeah.
Don't do you, you know. Yeah.
Yeah, I feel like it's more insane.
So much. I'm just going to go on there as well.
Right, you've got your camera ready?
Amına koy şunu.
Mummy did think.
I suppose you have to view from half.
Yes, Harry should be in there. Çocuklar yürür müsünüz? Hem acelemiz var diyorsunuz.
Anne çok sıcak oluyor. They opened a Crystal Payment one. You know that donut place in Southampton is 60.
she gets this.
A lot.
Alfie, stop! You're not throwing it in the water. Does he want give it to mummy, give it to mummy. No! Alfie, no! Jeremiah, I'll try and get it from there.
I do. See you later.